Hello, and wow, I don't know if you saw that. There's loads of birds just stood on what I think is like a telegraph wire. Um, welcome, welcome to Scotland. It is snowing here. It is 8:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Driving into Edinburgh to go to my Swedish massage training, which I'm loving. I'm really enjoying it. It's very different to anything I've done before, even to reflexology foot massage. And I feel a lot of it is this journey for me is getting closer to connecting with with my body and then other people's bodies. It sounds like a funny thing to say, but when when such a huge part of my mission is to help people raise their vibrations and balance their light and dark, um, our health, our connection with our bodies, our connection with nature, and and other people around us. These are all these are all incredible things, and they're incredibly powerful. I feel like starting with the body is just a huge leap forwards. One one thing I did during a recent massage class, we were it was like a kind of morning of study. So we were in a big circle and we were chatting in small groups, and we were talking about the like consultation of it's like a little bit of paperwork you do. You fill out a form just before you start a treatment with someone, and it's to find out more about their health. First of all, if there's any things that they have, any conditions that they have that would stop you from being able to treat them. And then there's also just working through like the different challenges that they have, and so you can figure out how to modify your treatment, how to customize it just for them, which I love. Like it's not just a generic treatment you give to people and hope for the best. Like it's customized and targeted for their aches and pains and challenges they have in their body. When we were going through that in class, we took it in turns and we made up. We were asked to make up like fictional health conditions about ourselves, and this was important mainly for, if I can say the word right, anonymity, 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 because we don't want to share, private medical challenges. But when I was role playing and I was making up my conditions, and the other two students were asking me, I described similar, like I'd say maybe a third to half of the the health challenges I had when I was at the edge of stress and burnout. I mean, I look back now, and I was burnt out. It wasn't like I was on the edge of it. Like I was like just running purely on adrenaline and just trying to get, from day to day, just to survive the day. That was the mission of every day, was just to survive. And that's not, if that's not what burnout is, I don't know. um, and I know everyone has different experiences, right? And I think you can also look on the outside quite functional. What is it they call it, with like is it a functional? Oh, is there another word for like when sometimes you might describe someone if they have an alcohol problem, if they're an alcoholic, it's like a functional alcoholic. Maybe I'm getting that word wrong, but that's how it felt like. I was still getting by, but I was just really, really struggling. Just gonna drink a little bit of coffee. Oh, I should say hello because I got my funny hat on for a little while. Hello, and a big thick jacket. There we go. Okay. So yeah, and when I described this to my students, the stress, I was like, I found it hard to take breaks between meetings. I was in meetings all day. I would work probably 8:30 a.m. to about 7 or 8 p.m. And although it was just Monday to Friday, it was just intense, and it was really taking its toll on my health. And I really felt that something had to give, something had to stop, and I was you know drinking a lot, and I was just trying to get by. Now, the actual year of when that was must have been around like maybe into coming into 2017. I don't really know. Some of this is a bit of a mix because I did stop drinking. I'm not sure because I never like really focused on it as an objective. In some respects, it was a bit of a side product of my awakening journey. Like I wanted to focus on meditation and music, and alcohol was stopping me from doing that. It was a big block for me. So yeah, it around that time frame in my awakening was November 2017. So I think up until November 2017, I would have relied a lot on alcohol, and then less and less to stopping at sometime during 2018. I think it was quite quick from memory. I think it was just a few months in. And after that, I still experienced, significant burnout for years. But I got better and better at coping with it. And in what must have been, let's see, 2023, 2021, um, is that right? Yeah. About April 2021, I went part-time, and that was a huge difference. Now, but the challenge was that it was like 3 days a week. And so the days I wasn't working, I wasn't burnt out. I was like recovering, but I was increasingly worried over time about, ironically, losing my job, which is, it's so, in some respects, it's kind of ridiculous. The very thing that you fear was also a goal of mine, was to leave my job. Um, but not for the whole 2 years, just really in the last, what would have been the last January, February, March, April, May, like maybe like 6 months, 6, 7 months. Okay. And the students that I was describing my roles to were just saying, "Oh, John, they just want to give that." They said want to give me a big hug, even though I was like role playing, and I'd added in some other things like more severe alcoholism and more, trauma that was going on in my life. And so, but when I saw their reactions to how I was describing myself, I was quite shocked. I was quite shocked that I'd become that person. And I'm sure that the students I was talking to, if not them, some of the other students and nurses, and they're very used to, you know, to to dealing with a whole wide range of people's problems. Um, so it was a really fascinating experience, um, and it really helped me realize how important it was that I took action. And I was telling, I had a beautiful walk down the harbour yesterday with my wife. There's an old harbour. It's several hundred years old down at Dunbar where we live, and we're in for this wee walk around it, and we were talking about our retirements and the plans that we have or don't have. um, we have like, certainly visions of what we want. And I said a big thing for me about leaving Amazon, first of all was just the burnout. Like that was just crippling, and I knew it had to stop. Like whatever was going to happen in my life, that burnout, the stress, the anxiety had to stop. And I said if that had been eased or was better, I could have stayed there a bit longer. Um, but ultimately, I was seeking something that that company and many other companies um, don't offer at this time. And that biggest thing for me and my wife is flexibility. Like we love and crave freedom and flexibility. Um, and my wife worked in a school, and so our holidays are like around. She gets summer holiday, which is fantastic, and the other school holidays. But the challenge is there's not as much flexibility because you end up in a situation where when you're booking, everyone else is off. All the families are off at the same time, and they're wanting to go and book the same place at the same time, and the prices are higher, and so on. And and yeah, I spoke a little bit about to her about I'm having a chat with a finance advisor and pension guy, um, having a chat with him, and I think he's subscribed to this channel. So hello if you're watching. But yeah, we're going to go do an introduction chat in a few days, and and it's just really fascinating when you give yourself these objectives, like by when would I want to retire? And initially, I thought I'd retire and I would just leave, and that would be it, and maybe I'd do some music. Whereas now I feel like I could do the work I'm doing now forever, like literally forever, and just gradually, tail it back or flex it depending on how much money I wanted to earn. I guess do more or less sessions over periods of time. Um, I also reflected a lot about and I was telling my wife about this again. I was just saying, as I reflect on my physical condition when I was in my height of the stress and anxiety and burnout, um, it was it was so damaging. Like I can only describe it as other parts of my aspects of my body doing pretty well. I would meditate in the morning. I was doing gym and running. So I was doing those things. My diet wasn't like super bad. I'm pescatarian, which means I eat vegetables and fish, but not other meats. Um, and my Achilles heel is snacking. Like I love snacking on nuts, crisps, grazing maybe is a better way of saying it. Um, and yeah, as I was chatting through this, I was realizing that all I definitely wasn't sleeping enough during my heightened periods of burnout. And also, I was filling my days with negative self-talk, and that is like a poisonous toxin, right? Like of all the things that you can consume in your body, negative self-talk is just it's so grim. Um, and to give some specifics, so I would in my corporate job, I'd wake up in the morning, I'd log in, I'd get maybe because the company I worked for was headquartered in Seattle and there's 8 hours time difference, I'd get like all yesterday's emails. So I'd have about 150 emails to get through, respond, and I would be scanning them to see like what are the top priorities for me to focus on. Because sometimes you get like a director or VP or your boss asking for something explicitly, and you needed to do it by a certain time, and that was it. And so if there was any of these kind of like flagged emails for me to focus on, that would be, and I might have to like change my entire day. I might have to say, look, we've got a problem, or someone wants an answer about something, and we would drop everything and reschedule everything. Not that that was wrong; it was stressful, um, and I would feel every day. I would feel like I was never doing enough. I was never working enough. That my productivity wasn't enough. That the quality of work I did wasn't enough. That I wasn't confident enough when I was presenting in meetings. That was a big theme for me. I often felt, I found it hard to to express myself and to, um, especially when we ended up in situations where other team members have made mistakes, and especially if they weren't one of my team, they were like one of the other supporting teams, so a different manager. I really didn't want to throw them under a bus, and it often left me in very difficult situations. When people are asking questions about who's to blame, and you're not, you know, giving the whole detail about, oh, I think it's such and such's fault because they did this. Because I didn't think it would be helpful. It's not helpful to anyone, but it would get me in a lot of trouble because they'd just think it was my fault. um, and I wouldn't say that there was a culture in that company. I mean, it's a huge company, right? I'm sure there's pockets of it. There wasn't a direct intention to make you want to um, negatively self-talk to yourself, but the constant push for higher and higher quality. Wow, look at the birds. Um, deliver faster, deliver to a higher quality, and really, really high quality. Some of the highest I've ever delivered in my career. Do your best for your customer. Do your best for your team. And it just seemed to be that what was missing in the equation was me, like my self love, my self care. So that would be the thing that would suffer the most. Um, and I guess that had been a real weakness for me even before I joined that company. And and so all that all I did to myself was like poison myself constantly with, oh, John, you're not enough. Oh, John, they're going to fire you because you're not enough. John, they pay you so much money, but they're you're not good enough at this. In hindsight, I was really good at the job, and I did achieved a lot of things with my both building teams and then leading the teams that many others around the world have been unable to do in artificial intelligence. And that was, at that time, I don't know if they've, surpassed what we did since I left. But yeah, our work was years ahead of others, and just felt in hindsight really good. But also shame that I was unable to acknowledge it. That's a pattern for me. You may have noticed some of those. It was definitely like a past life pattern. I saw this super successful version of me or incarnation of me, should I say, in ancient Egypt. Very quite famous and very popular. People lining the streets to see me, and all I was doing was playing it down and refusing to receive their love and support. And I was miserable in that lifetime. It was almost like it had the opposite effect, that their love and support and encouragement in that lifetime hurt me. And I don't have all the answers about why all this happened, but it's definitely been a big theme uh, through my soul's incarnations, and a theme in this life. I feel like I'm making really good progress in this life. Even just saying that is a huge thing, right? One aspect is I was watching, TikTok does this thing, like other social media platforms, when it says on this day, and it shows you like a story you created on this day a year ago. And so the year ago version of me in January, I'd obviously been giving it serious thought about leaving my corporate job. And I was sat in my camper van. I'm guessing that I was in Kelso down at the borders because we still owned our holiday home then. And I sat in my camper van saying, tell, like, the general message was along the lines of, journal your journey because it's important to share with others how your journey has unfurled. And if like that just feels amazing, feels really, really good and a really powerful way of that I use to help process my feelings of lack and or any remaining feelings of lack and any remaining challenges um, around the ability to receive. And I've seen clients in sessions have superpowers in their ability to receive, and isn't that cool? Like imagine that for a moment, that you could just choose what you want to receive, and you could receive it. Your superpower meant that you didn't have to go out and push and grind, grind. I love that word. Like so hard every day that you just received it. You could literally just say, "Oh, I fancy the opportunity of going to um, another part of the world to run a retreat, and I'm just going to receive a retreat, a message from a retreat owner. They're going to message me and they're going to offer me at an incredible rate, or maybe even free of charge, their retreats so that I can run one." Um, like those, I mean, that would be an amazing superpower, right? And it's quite funny as I say all these things, I realize that there's magic to it. And even if it's not your superpower, it's worth practicing, or at very least worth trying, right? Um, so, what was I talking about? I don't know. I was talking about, talking about receiving. Yeah, it's been a big thing for me. And then I've also found, um, as I reflected back on my journey, how the stress and anxiety affected me. It affected me so much physically, and this is like this is really an apology to my body, which is I've been so hard on my body, and just talk negatively to my body for so many years. I remember quite vividly, and this is some time ago. This is like uh, this is over 15 years ago, because there was three houses. Yeah, let's just say it was 15 years ago. So 15 years ago, I'm 48 now. Um, so I'm uh, in my 30s. I remember looking in the mirror and seeing like my I was wearing, like, it was a weekend, and I was wearing a kind of jumper, and it was like quite flat against my, a bit clingy around my chest. I remember looking at my chest, and I was like, "Oh, it's so saggy, John. Like, you know, what's wrong with you?" And I remember not liking. My immediate reaction was not liking my clothes, which actually I think is, quite good. It's like, even though it's a bit of deflection, it's not a bad thing to just blame your clothes initially, because it's a better energy than blaming yourself. But at some point, you still have to confront, um, this negative self-talk. And I realized that, although I was running each morning, at that time I was still drinking alcohol. And I know that has, and certainly in males, that has an effect of, you know, adding to a saggy chest. But I just, I remember thinking, but I run all the time, so why is my body like this? And I was just really annoyed with my body, so angry. And you know, you you might resonate with this. You might look in the mirror and give yourself a lot of negative self-talk, but it's a horrible, horrible habit, right? And it's a kind of fear that's addictive. Like, oh, look how old I am. Oh, look how you know fat or too thin or not muscly enough or too muscly or all these things that some people say or never say um, to themselves. Like whatever it has that is a negative um, practice, this energy you're projecting to yourself, it's horrible and it's poisonous to you. And your poor body sat there going, I'm just trying my best. Like my body was just trying its best to keep me going. I remember as Jim Carrey would say, like, depression or deep rest is your body saying, no, I'm not going to play this avatar anymore. Like it's not going to happen. And having a mutiny, right? And needing taking over and needing a rest. And I must admit, through my awakening, and it took a few years for me to really get into it, I've begun to realize how important it is for me to have a happy, healthy relationship with my body. And in fact, just today, I can't believe I've never really put these two together. But today, I'm sat in meditation, as I do each morning, and I was saying it with that tone, just like, well, I always meditate. Um, I'm sat there, and I was kind of rubbing my feet. So I'm sat in a lotus position, and I was rubbing my feet, and it's like, oh, maybe I should do like a reflexology zone walk, which is like a scan across your feet. Um, and when you do that, you're able to pick up on any areas of tension. And so I did that, and then I did a little rub across a massage across my digestive system, which is under the foot, like kind of the lower half, just about midpoint underneath your foot, and then the lower half there. It's not all of it, but it's just that area. Um, and then, and that felt really good, like the digestive part, especially after eating lots of crazy food through Christmas and New Year. And then I also went over the heart, which is just under the big toe, and then I went like under the big toe itself, which is the brain, and then I did the pituitary gland, which looks after your pain, in the very center of the underneath of the big toe, and then I also did the third eye, or the pineal gland, across the top of the big toe, the very tip. And I'm sat there thinking, John, why have you never done this before? Like, you're literally sat there with your feet in your hands, and you're a qualified reflexologist. People pay you to rub their feet. Why don't you rub your own? And one big challenge with my reflexology work is that I can't easily teach it to others because it's hard to show people without them being there, and then also it's hard to for them to practice because they need other people's feet. But for those people that can sit in a lotus position or thereabouts, as long as you can touch the underneath of your feet well enough to give some massage, then yeah, I think there's some basic steps to make a huge difference. Um, and that was really surprising to me, and it felt like, you know what, John, you already have the tools literally in your hands to connect more deeply with your body every day. In that zone walk, I love that I was guided to do that because it's like a scan of your whole body, and it allows you to say, okay, what should I focus on today? What needs my most attention in my body today? Also, fun fact, since we've had our kitchen extended, I've now, for now, stopped doing my exercises in my studio in the morning, which was kind of too small anyway. There's a lot of moves I just couldn't do in there because of the size. Smaller than a prison cell, or certainly a UK prison cell. And so what I found myself doing was, now that I'm in the kitchen, the kitchen has like a hard, um, slippery floor. It's like a laminate, like a fake wood laminate, and it's so funny. Like doing, I don't even know what the name is of this move. It's a bit like kind of plank position, but um, what you do is you kind of lift your bum right up and then put your head down, and then you put your bum all the way down to the floor, and then your head up, and you switch between those. But when I'm doing it, my feet slide backwards and forwards, which makes it 10 times harder. But I have been able to do exactly the same amount of uh, repetitions to 26, and but my cardio, I'm just gasping for air afterwards. Um, and And it was quite funny because my body loves it. And I, I've always, like, how do I word this properly? Earlier in life, I, I didn't really realize how important it is to have a strong core. And you don't really develop much core, or some of the way I run in my running, I don't really exercise my core much. So when I came to trying some of these exercises that do exercise your core, I realized that I really love the feeling of it. Because one thing I don't really enjoy at all, which is quite rare for me to not enjoy an exercise, but it's like sit-ups. I just don't. I know some people might find them addictive or tolerate them, but I just find them really hard to do, and I would constantly seek to do a million different ways of exercising my abdomen, my abs, and my core. So it was just a lot of fun to like. I was doing that exercise again this morning, um, and it was very enlightening to see my body's reaction. And although I run more than enough to be able to work on my cardio, my body seemed to really enjoy, because I do that exercise just after meditation. Just really enjoy that. So I'm definitely going to explore more. And this year, I'd like to explore a lot more of these different modalities. And I say modalities, just different exercises. Um, oh yeah, I was thinking of getting a, what do they call it? It's like, is it a kettle? I was going to say kettle drum, but it's not kettle drum. It's a, what do they call it? It's like a heavy weight that's like ball shaped, then has this big handle over the top. Whatever they're, um, yeah, I might. Is it kettlebell maybe? I quite fancy getting one or two of those because I quite like to keep it outside and make. I wasn't sure how much I'd enjoy exercising outside, but I love it. Um, my So I've had to take my pull-up bar, a big like metal frame, which I was using in the garage, and now sits outside. And taking it outside is fantastic. Like a lot of, it's so cool. You can like look at the stars, and I've just been for a run, so I'm not cold at all. I've had it really, really hot, and I had to peel off layers before I then start using my pull-up bar. Um, so yeah, all I need to do is be quiet because there's other people sleeping, like my kids. So yeah, definitely going to watch this space for reflexology videos. Maybe I'll start with like a mindful meditation and introduce some basic reflexology, and then see how that goes. But I don't want to just rush into it. I'd like to, just like I did with psychic reflexology, to practice it first. I think that would be a really good idea. Oh, and I also, whilst working on my first Swedish massage case study, yesterday when I was doing a treatment for my clients, um, I do a couple a week. Is I had this very, very vivid third eye vision of the muscles, the back muscles underneath the skin, and it it took me by surprise. It wasn't just a, oh, I think I might be able to see something. It was like so vivid, so sharp, with such clarity. Like I could see the muscle fibers, I could see the color and the texture of the muscle under the skin, and it was the, up towards just above, like midpoint on the spine. And I'm going to have to learn all the vertebrae. Uh, and especially for this muscle, it's a very popular one to massage. And it was the traps, the trapezial, is that what it's called? Muscle or muscles, and it's almost like a diamond shape that comes across your. I'm just listening to my GPS. Um, yes, we do turn down here. I'm getting all excited about third eye vision. Um, so yeah, it was it was incredible. I could see the muscle fibers, I could see the direction of the muscle, and I could what my third eye seemed to be doing was, I think, what I'd done just before I witnessed this, and this is really important about any of these experiences, right? Think about what it is that happened before, what were you thinking about, how were you feeling, what was your intention just before it happened, and how did you feel when it happened, and how did you react? And I was just really excited, and I was like, "Oh, thank you." And I don't want to freak out my clients and say, "Oh, I can see your muscles," you know. Um, but I did wonder what, and continue to wonder, and I mean wonder, um, with the kind of magical spelling of it, the magical meaning, which is, I felt that it was really exciting that I could be seeing inside of the human body, because I'm increasingly getting used to doing this in like more psychically led sessions, like um, it's been manifested very strongly in client sessions, but also in the live streams that I do with Viviani. And I'm excited to go back on Monday. Tomorrow I'll be doing that again. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, it was really fascinating because I felt like, oh, I can see now. It's so cool. Um, and I it's a funny experience to describe, but it almost doesn't, because it's so physical. Um, it doesn't quite feel so psychic, and yet, people may describe the ability to see inside of the human body with their mind, or should I say their third eye, um, as uh, oh, it's going reversing there. So yeah, they would, consider that to be psychic, but it is, yeah, it is incredible. It's super fun. Anyway, I'm going to have to end there, and wish you guys all the best. I'm going to try and find a space in here for my big fan, um, which is often quite hard. I have to walk through the snow. Oh, this is amazing. Loads of space here, John. Great. Lots of snow too. um, and it's quite funny actually. I think when you get parking here, I don't think there's any. You're not really meant to stay overnight, but the parking you get does allow you to stay over. but I don't think I'd have it super enjoyable nights here. I'd rather avoid it. I cannot see where the parking spaces are. It's so funny. Oh well, I'm sure I'm running out of being useful and entertaining to you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll give you a little wave. Sending so much love. Take care. Love.